Hello, this is my project, Weather Words on the Wall. My inquiry question was, if I use a word wall to post explicitly taught science vocabulary words to a class of third graders and provide multiple structured activities using the word wall during the unit, to what extent would it improve their ability to effectively use the science vocabulary in a summative science assessment? It's kind of wordy, but basically I wanted to study the use of word walls and how it would affect like a science unit. So I originally was trying to look at like first grade with sight words, and so I used this article by Joanne Jasmine about the effects of word walls and word wall activities on first grade students. It was a good article, but it wasn't really exactly what I needed because it was just her class, and the sample size was just really small, and I was like, okay, I'm glad it worked for your class, but it doesn't really prove anything. So I decided to reach a little bit higher and go with a higher grade. I'm not teaching right now, so I knew I wasn't going to be able to do the activity anyway. But originally I was teaching in fourth grade, so I decided to go with third grade, kind of in the middle, and changed it a little bit. So the context would be a third grade classroom for a 3-week, 30 to 40 minutes, 4 times a week unit, and it would be embedded into the science weather unit. So it would take place during the science class time, but with a lot of reading activities. So again, I've always had like a love-hate relationship with word walls because I know they're important, but I don't really know why. I mean, I know why, I just don't really know how to use them very well. So that's what I was really hoping to understand better. And I did, especially going through this process. I mean, this is kind of later on, but it did help me like figure it out. And I also wanted to incorporate, like, to see how to incorporate different strategies that we've learned, and see how hard it would be or how easy it would be. And because I knew I wasn't going to be able to teach this, I decided to go pretty deep and do a full unit as opposed to like a smaller segment, just because I wanted to see how deep I could go, knowing that I wouldn't actually be able to teach it and get that like hands-on nitty-gritty to it. So the goal of the unit would be students would be able to correctly explain seasons of weather pattern data with vocabulary appropriate to the topic. These are the state standards. So it would address the science standard. This is the typical weather conditions in a particular season, and it would address these 3 ELA standards, and then finally the students would be creating a graph as well, which is a math standard. So the first part of the assignment, or like the unit, would be this pre-assessment, which I did just a basic, like, these are the key words. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor. These are the keywords, and they would just do a matching and then give an example. What's an example of a season? If you, like, what would be an example of the temperature, precipitation, wind direction, and wind speed? And these are the words that would go on the weather wall, or the word wall. So on the first day, the teacher would read an article, and she would go through and create a mind map with the students, and also pulling out those keywords. And the student's job would be 2-column notes for the keywords, specifically focusing on like synonyms. So as I was looking into things like precipitation is water released from the sky, but drizzle and fog and rain, sleet, snow, hail, ice, those are all types of precipitation, and meteorologists use all of those words. And so talking about those synonyms, and then like wind speed, wind direction. Okay, what about gusts, breezy? Like, we need to address those as well. So the teacher would help pull those words out of the article and then talk about them. And then the next day, the students would reread the article, the same one, and create a 3-to-1 response. A 3, 2, 1. There we go. And of things that they, things that are interesting. 3 fun facts, 3 interesting facts, 2 things that stood out, and 1 question. I always get them mixed up, the 3 and the 2. Okay, so on day 3, the students would read a second article with a partner, and I mean, as necessary, depending on your kids. And then do the request activity where they're creating a list of questions for the teacher, and the teacher would answer those questions. And each time the students are reading these passages, they're highlighting those keywords. And then the fourth day, the students would listen to a weather report. And I actually found one from New York that talks about Philadelphia, but for the sake of time, I'm going to skip it. But after that, they would do a closed reading activity with fill in the blanks, focusing on keywords. So that was the example of the weather report.
A lot of rain around, and some of it.
Skip that. And then day 5, the teacher is going to lead a class brainstorm, creating a mind map or like a GMA of some sort about the 4 different seasons, what the students already know. And then the students will each pick one season to study and generate a list of questions about that season. And the next day, they're going to start doing a research project on it, using their self-generated list or teacher-supported list of questions and the teacher-provided materials, so that it kind of narrows down that focus, because again, these are 3rd graders, so you don't just want to send them out to the internet and say, learn about spring. So on the next day, they will take their information, they'll work with a group of students to discuss what they learned and create some sort of a representation of it if it's not distracting from the discussion. I didn't want it to be just about that creation, because that's not really the point. It's more of the discussion. The math part of it, they would create a bar graph on day 8, something like this. And then students are going to write a script. I wanted to have reading, speaking, writing, and listening all a part of this. And the script is if they were a meteorologist forecasting the weather in their season. And then the final assessment is to create a 1.5-minute Flipgrid video of them presenting as if they were a meteorologist. And that would be on day 10. Here's an example script. So like, hello, my name is Jack, and I'm a meteorologist with ABC Weather. We're in the middle of May, which is the spring season, and our weather right now is sunny. This week, we will see the temperature around 60 degrees, and the highest will be 68 degrees on Thursday. Saturday, it is forecast to have a few inches of precipitation, and a wind will be coming from the south at 7 miles per hour. Put on some rain boots and jump in your muddy puddles this weekend. Thank you for listening to my weather report. Something along those lines where all of the keywords from the word wall are highlighted. Then day 11 will be for reflection, discussion, through some sort of writing project, and then day 12 they will be given that final assessment, the matching, to see if there was growth. I think definitely also through the videos that the teacher is observing, she'd be able to see that as well. So what did I learn? It was easier than I thought to implement the ideas that I had learned in class, like the request and the close activity. I was like, oh, this is really easy. I also like that word walls kind of create a holding spot for learning. And that I also learned about like how important it is that if they have the correct vocabulary, that the content will land better when you talk about those synonyms. So when they come up, it's like, oh wait, what's drizzle mean? Oh, it's the rain, it's the precipitation. And then also finding those deep ways to get into the print, like the request, the 3, 2, 1. Those were pretty easy to find. I still want to know things like how can word walls and written text be used in math or social studies? And then also just the cross-curricular. And I think I was looking ahead to our next course. I think we're going to learn about like cross-curricular content and literacy. And then will there be an increase in students' reading strategies if you teach them reading strategies in science? Will you see that in future texts? So that is all. Thank you so much.